I am so excited to be the very first live workshop, webinar, whatever you want to call it, for the 13.5 project. We are June 2021, and we are rocking this pandemic when it comes to online experiences at Dubai English Speaking College. Today, I'm going to be talking about you and the brand, and the theme is, what is your story? I just want to put it into context. I'm not going to be talking about branding as a professional social media brander, because I'm not I didn't go to university, I didn't work in branding or social media or marketing. Everything I'm going to be talking to you today is something or a multiple of things that I've learned along my way, along the journey of branding. So let's jump into it. Oops. There we go. What's on the agenda? Today I'm going to be talking about a few things. We're going to talk about truth, then we're going to talk about painful truth, things they don't tell you, but things that I've experienced. And in conversations with other brand makers, I feel that we have these things in common. I'm going to talk about what identity is and how you can identify, about create, be accountable, and then we're going to end it with ignoring the distractions, which is really, really important. So let's jump into the truth. It's very, very important for you to be remembering the one thing that will never change is you are the brand. It's not going to be the company that you work for. It's not going to be your employer. It's not going to be the person that is creating your brand. You are your brand. And what that means is, whatever ideas you come up with, whoever you work for, the one thing that is always going to remain a constant is you. And everything that you do is going to be recognized by the effort and what you bring to those things. So don't misunderstand what I'm going to say. I'm not saying that I am, for example, Desk Careers, but actually, for some people, I am the face of Desk Careers. When you think about Desk Careers, when you think about coming to the Careers Hub, the first thing that will pop to mind is Miss V. Every time a student will have an experience with me, every time I meet with a student, or if I meet with a parent, or if I meet with a member of the team, or if I do a spotlight interview, the truth is that the perfume that I leave behind, the experience that I leave behind, and you'll often hear me say, I'm only as successful as my last testimonial. And that means that because people will identify Miss V with Desk Careers, if Miss V does a great job, Desk Careers is an incredible service. If Miss V doesn't do such a great job, suddenly the service at Desk Careers might not be as credible as people might think it will be. So we're only as useful, we're only as resourceful, we're only as credible as our customers will tell other customers, or will be posting, or will be testifying about the service. So remember that. Now, when we look at the different things that I've done, and I'll talk in a little more detail in a few minutes, but some of the brands that I've really been working on over the last, say, 7 years are the logos that you see in front of you. So Desk Careers is something that we can all recognize. It's the career service here at Dubai English Speaking College. And then there's the UAE Careers Community, which is a spin-off to Desk Careers to really complement the work that we do at Desk Careers and to become drivers in careers education. And then there's #Strong, and of course, MV, which stands for Maria Vitoratos. And that is really showing you the truth that I have accepted, that I am the brand. And the one thing that we have in common with all of these logos is this person right here, and that's me. So remember, the truth behind what you do is, it doesn't matter who you work for. It doesn't matter what logo you put on your business card. The brand is you, and you are the brand. The painful truth is, there's a responsibility that comes with identifying as the brand. And I remember when I first started this journey, I had paid a professional marketing company to help me really identify with this logo here, #Strong. And they were telling me that I needed to separate Miss V from #strong. And I realized that I was feeling the sense of maybe I need to do the same thing with Desk Careers. And so for a little bit of time, for a few months, I bought into that idea that I could separate the two entities because I felt that I needed to be me and I needed that brand to be separate from me. But what started to happen more and more was I was beginning to feel misaligned. I was beginning to feel that something wasn't quite feeling right. Because although I was trying to separate the two, and if you look into some of the research of these logos that you see in front of you, you will see that each of these has their own separate social channels or their own separate identity. But again, the common denominator is me. So after months and months of fighting it and months of saying, but I'm not this brand. And they were telling me, you're not this brand. You need to be different. They need to see you as separate. I realized actually what was making these logos, these brands stand out was that I was coming to them from a very authentic and very genuine place. And that's what was driving the kind of demand behind I call it the extra mile. So this extra mile wasn't that, I don't think that we do it better than anybody else. I don't think that we provide anything that other brands are providing. I don't think that there's anything that you will see at Desk Careers that might not exist anywhere else, because we're talking about careers and education. Careers education spans back to the 1900s. I would be falsely advertising that I am doing something that has never been done before. But what makes it stand out is the person behind the logo, that's me, that brings in the extra mile. And that extra mile is the brand. The brand is the essence. It's the thing that you can't really put words into. It's what makes the service really special. And what makes the service really special is that cliche word called passion, or, you know, I'm really passionate about what I do. I don't really like saying that anymore because I think it's been overused. But actually, if we have to put it in an adjective, I would say that it is that je ne sais quoi, that essence of what we bring to it. And the essence is the sometimes crazy, sometimes overly excited, very enthusiastic, but very, very driven Miss V behind the brand. Now, the painful truth is sometimes I just want to be Miss V, and I don't want to be a role model, and I don't want to be getting it right all the time. I don't want to have all the answers, but that's kind of what comes with the job. So if you plan on being in the world of work and being a leader in any capacity of what you want to do, you have to remember that you're your brand. People will buy into you. They're not going to buy into a logo. They're going to buy into you. And so they expect you to be just that. They expect you to be what they see through that brand. And we're going to talk a little more about that later on. So let's talk about identity, brand identity. A few things I've learned along the way. And again, I'm not trained in social media marketing. I'm only talking about what I've learned on the job over the last 7 years. And what I've learned is that the identity of who you are as an individual has a little bit to do with your identity called the brand, but actually it's more of a self-aware you, and it's almost like playing a part in your life. So I'm not saying that I'm not authentically me when I'm at Desk Careers, or I'm not authentically me when I'm working at #strong, or when I'm leading the UAE careers community. I am authentically me, but my values, my beliefs, my vision, my purpose, and my mission might slightly be different, or they might alter depending on what logo or brand I'm working on. So the common theme is it's Miss V behind all of these themes. And the teams that Miss V works with are all following in the lead of how Miss V will lead them. So when you're creating your identity, it's a long process. And anyone that tells you any different, I would like to really challenge them in thinking, if you haven't If you haven't been really thinking about what are your values or what are the values of the brand that you are showing up in or discussing or trying to promote, and by values, what that means is what's important to this brand. If you are selling a service or if you are selling a product, is what's so important? Why would somebody want to spend time learning about your brand or buying into your brand or taking time and using your service? So what are the values? If I think about the values of all of the brands, so let's hone it into the Desk Careers brand. If I think about the values of the Desk Careers brand, they're really, really simple, and I can rattle them off the top of my head. It's fun, it's flexibility, it's bespoke, and it's empowering. And those are the values of Desk Careers. Now, it's important that you are able to rattle off what your values are, but you can't just say the names or you can't just call them a title. You have to actually identify what they are. So when I think about one, for example, if I think about fun, what fun means at Desk Careers is when you walk into the hub, when you see anything that has to do with Desk Careers, it makes you feel like it's something you want to do because it's enjoyable. Whether you have a one-to-one session with Miss B, or you're looking at a flyer, or you're attending one of the events, it's fun, it's bouncy, it's enthusiastic. It's something that you enjoy doing, and that's really, really important. Now, the belief system is slightly different. So values are what are important to your brand identity. The beliefs are what do you believe to be true? And those things can be different. And this is where the sociologist has to come in. So this helps me a lot because I was at university, I did study sociology. So this was easy for me to kind of reflect on. The sociologist in me understood that my belief system is based on my cultural upbringing, it's based on the society that I live in, and it's based on my host country and a mixture of cultural and society beliefs. And these are things you have to really be paying attention to. So, for example, if it's important to Desk Careers to have fun, I need to make sure that if I'm working in this sector, if I'm working in this region, in the Middle East, that the fun that I'm bringing through Desk Careers has to be really carefully playing into what is really a belief system of the Middle East. So, for example, what fun would look like if I were hosting an event for Desk Careers here in the Middle East, it might be slightly different if I was hosting a similar event in a different part of the world. We have to remember that the cultural values are very, very important. And these are things that no one's going to sit down and teach you. They're things that you want to become aware of when you're living in the part of the world that you're doing your business in. Now, with globalization becoming ever more paramount in the way that we work, it's important that if your service is going to be providing something for people in different parts of the world, different to where you are, you need to make sure that the values of your brand are fitting into the belief systems of where you're promoting your service. A great example is Starbucks. I remember watching a masterclass with the CEO of Starbucks, and he was talking about when Starbucks opened in China, they were having a real issue with selling their products, and they couldn't really understand at the beginning why this was happening, because Starbucks was a shoo-in. It was doing extremely well in North America and different parts of Europe, but for some reason they were struggling in China. And then they sat down and they realized it was the cultural and societal values and belief system that Starbucks wasn't really aligning with. So they had to tweak things, and they found that they were able to keep to their values, but support the cultural beliefs of the country, of the host country. So remember that. That's something very important, and definitely not anything I ever learned when I was taking a social marketing class where I was learning how to do my branding. This is something I've learned on the job. Vision. Vision is something else that you really need to be paying attention to. When we're thinking about the brand, you want to go back to what is important to your brand. What are the values? And when you're thinking about those values, also, it is so important for you to have a vision. What is the long-term, big picture vision for your brand? And I'm going to show you examples of the different brands that I have, and the common theme being Miss V aligns with the vision throughout all of those things that I'm working on. So a vision goes something like this. I want to be able to look back at everything that I've done, and I want to make sure that I've been empowering young people. That's my vision. If I were going to hone it into desk careers, I want to be empowering people, young people, and their parents and community members with career exploration, discovery, and to be able to live their real life career aspirations. That's the vision. The purpose is slightly different. So the vision is a big picture vision. And most people will struggle with this vision because they've not really thought about the long term. And you have to sometimes go way into the future and then work your way back, especially when you're looking at brand identity. Purpose is slightly different. Purpose is the reason that you wake up and do what you do for that brand every single day. Purpose is the reason that your brand exists. Purpose is what's going to drive a team that will come with you on this brand journey. So you want to be very clear about what your purpose is. Your purpose should be bigger, much bigger than just getting a salary or getting paid for what you do. Your purpose has to align with your values, and your purpose should be aligned with the vision. It should connect. It's like connecting the dots. Everything should really come together and weave in together. Now, the purpose, you can bullet point your purpose, but your mission is bigger than your purpose, and it's kind of smaller than the vision, but still aligned with the vision. So let me give you an example. My vision, when I look back at my life, I want to make sure that I was empowering young people, and I want to make sure that every experience I brought to young people was taking them towards the life that they want to live with purpose. My purpose is to wake up every day and be enthusiastic about the work I do and really, really align. I want to walk the talk. That's my purpose. I want to make sure that every time I interact with my service users, that they walk away feeling empowered. My mission is to be motivational, inspiring, and authentic. So they sound like statements, but actually these statements will come into creating my action steps. They'll come into creating the key productive indicators that I want my teams to be working on. And they come together and help me market my service. So I know that you're out there and I'm kind of going through this, but please use the chat box and let me know if you have any questions along the way. And we'll definitely talk about those questions when we get to the Q&A. We're now at the create part. This is what I found the biggest struggle. And most entrepreneurs who have these visions that really see it, and I can empathize with anyone watching this right now that's like, I have this idea, but I just don't know how to bring it out. I don't know how to explain it. And this was where I struggled as well. And I think I'm still on that journey, but I feel like I am getting closer to what I believe will be the thing that I should be doing at my best. So I really like this image. I was created to create. And that's what brand drivers do. They create, but they don't just create images and graphics and social platforms. They create the brand, and the brand is translated through these different platforms. So you have images. Every time you're taking a graphic, every time you're creating a post, every time you're building a flyer, every time you're promoting your brand, whether it be your CV, because your CV is a platform to promote your brand. It could also be a flyer that you're putting together to sell something that you want to be doing as part of your service. It could be a social media post that you're using to talk about something you've done. But all of those things need to align with your values, the belief system of the culture and society of your host country. And it should also implement things that are from your purpose, your mission, and your vision. Then you want to be thinking about those vision boards. So vision boards are great. This is that vision. Remember, I talked about the big picture. So in creating that vision board, you're taking that big picture out of your head and you're kind of putting it into one concrete space called a vision board. Now, vision boards are not fluffy things that people do and they don't really take action. Vision boards are great. It's a great exercise for you to take the idea and put it out there. A vision board could be words that you need to be thinking about. They could be images. They could be phrases with mix of images. They could be anything that take the vision and put it on something concrete. Now, be careful. A vision board isn't just something that you do and that's it. You do it once and you leave it alone. It must come back every single time you are working on the projects that you're working on for the brand. You should have your vision board in front of you and really start ticking things off as you do them. So a vision can be divided in years, and you could have quarter one, quarter two, quarter three. It could be year one, year two, year three. It could be spring, autumn, summer, fall. You can kind of create the timeline as you want, but there needs to be timestamps on that vision board. So I like to create lots of visions. I'll create like a journey path, and I'll have the end, and at the end it should, it's Miss V being remembered. I sometimes do that. I look back and think, well, how do I want people to remember me? And it's not the ego in me. It's am I living authentically to the brand that I want people to be buying into because I believe in these brands. So my vision board is always there with me whenever I'm creating something. And I know that when something doesn't feel right, for example, when I'm working at Des Careers, if something doesn't feel right, I have to take that vision board out and look at it and say, did I distract myself? Did I get off the path? Or am I still on the path and am I still working towards what my vision is? So vision boards are great. Teams. The teams are sometimes the people we choose to work with, and sometimes they're the people that are chosen for us. So it's very, very important that you remember it feels easy when we're working with teams that we've chosen because we've chosen them because they're like-minded. They think like us. They agree with us. But growth doesn't happen when you're on teams where everybody is a yes person. Growth happens when you're working with people that challenge you. So don't be afraid to mix up those teams. If you become a leader in any capacity, and that doesn't mean that you're the manager or you're the CEO. A leader can be anybody, just like me. A leader is somebody who has a vision, has a focus, has a purpose, has a mission, and follows through on that mission. And people will naturally want to follow with you. So those team members are not always going to agree with you. The ones that do make you feel better, and they're kind of like that motivational push. But the ones that don't will make you really reflect and grow and evolve. Take the vision board out, look at what's not working and tweak it. And that's why it's important that when you're working in teams, that you talk about things like, what are your values? Begin to align with each other. Begin to reflect on what kind of a belief system does this individual have and what kind of a belief system does this individual have? And how do these combined beliefs and values help enrich the brands that we're working on? And then there's those social networks. There's so many platforms that you can be choosing. And I want you to think carefully about the ones that you do choose. Remember, it is about the brand. So you as an individual might not feel comfortable with a brand being on a platform, but you know that your brand identity needs to be on that platform. So if you're not comfortable doing it, that means you should be doing it and doing more of it because it's helping you evolve and grow. And so when we're looking at those social networks, don't fall into the mindset of, I'm only going to do one. I don't like social networks because the world is so small right now. And the only way that your brand can be seen is by being accessible to that global community, whether it be your small little network in your own city, or it might be in the country, or it might be in the globe. You want to be on those social networks and you want to be comfortable on those social networks, but the social networks should align with the values of your brand. They should align with the cultural belief system of your brand, and they should align with the purpose and the mission that you want to be working on with that brand. And then create some workshops. Teach. What I'm doing right now is really helpful for me because it made me think about, well, what is my brand identity? So when you want to learn, teach. And when you teach, you actually learn. And this is great. Most brand identity experts are those people that feel really confident about what they do, and they're happy to talk about it in public and teach it. Now, on the one hand, you might think, yeah, they're doing that because they're selling their workshops. But on the other hand, what they're really doing is strengthening their skills, promoting their values and their mission and their belief system by teaching. So I encourage you to really learn how to teach. Even if you don't want to be a teacher, you're still a teacher. Just by doing what you do, people will follow, naturally want to follow. And then create the next big thing. And by big, I don't mean the next big $1 million project. No, I mean the next big thing that is aligned with the brand values, vision, mission, and purpose. Always stay in that creator mode. The world is changing at a really fast pace. Nothing stays the same. The only constant we have is change. So adapting to change, pay attention to when change is happening, and don't fight change. Be ready to adapt and be ready for that next big thing. And that's, I think, something that most brand identity experts don't tell you, but you have to be very adaptable. This is what I've learned. And then be accountable. So by being you, and it doesn't matter if you get hired to work at Amazon or if you decide to open up your own SME and decide to be a one-man show until you can afford to hire a team. You have to be accountable because remember what I said right at the beginning, you are the face behind the brand. People will remember the brand based on how you left them at their last experience. And that means by being a leader, you have to be accountable. You have to be responsible. What is the message? What is the feeling? What is the impact that you're making when you're standing next to that brand? And then publish only what is relevant and change what needs to be evolved. And what that means is don't worry about what you think you have to be doing for your brand. Just publish what's relevant. Go back to your vision. Go back to the purpose. Go back to the mission and look at it and really think what needs to be published that is relevant to the values and the vision of this brand. And you can't go wrong. But remember that you have to be accountable. Don't just unconsciously do things. You're not in the passenger seat when you're a brand driver. You're in the driver's seat and you want to be accountable. And then ignore the distractions. There are so many distractions. I want you to think about your brand almost as if it's a performance on stage. With every performance, there will be characters. Some characters are the main characters. Some characters are kind of in the background, and others come in and go. What you want to remember is that your audience, whether it be your service users, or it be your team, or it be people that kind of come and go, they're not the main character in your brand. You are the main character. So remember that whatever you do, whatever you say, whatever impact you're making, by being accountable, that means you have to ignore the distractions, stay true to your vision, stay true to your purpose, and ignore and eliminate anything that takes you off the path. And what I'm not saying is when people are telling you that they're not happy with the service, you should ignore them. On the contrary, when people tell me that they're not happy with a service that might have been provided at Best Careers, I want to get curious. What I'm going to eliminate are the finger pointing. I'm going to eliminate the negative personalization of what was uncomfortable. And what I'm going to be open to is what can I learn and how can my brand evolve from this experience? Work harder, stay true, and be authentic, but ignore and eliminate the distractions because you are that main character. And then I want to show you the common theme. So what I've done is I've taken all of the brands that I'm working on, and I've put together the common theme. And I want to see if you can also identify with what this common theme is for me, but maybe it's something that it's an exercise that you can do for yourself. So it's not uncommon right now for people around the globe to have multiple identities, right? Multiple brands. They're working on multiple tasks. Gone are the days, and you hear me say this all the time at Desk Careers, it does not exist anymore to have one job for life. It is so, so important that you remember that you're going to have many, many side hustles, but you have to stay true to your vision and your purpose. So let's go through mine, and they're in no order at all. We're going to ignore the MD, and we're going to look at Desk Careers first. So the vision for Desk Careers is empowering the youth with career discovery and the opportunities to live their future aspirations in real life. That's my motto. That's what I tell people that Desk Careers is all about. That's Miss V as the careers coach and the leader of Desk Careers. And then there's #strong, empowering the youth with stories that share real life examples of resilience and a global community. That's Miss V as the founder of #strong. And then we have the UAE Careers Community, empowering the youth with access to career mentors across the United Arab Emirates and the globe, changing the status quo of careers education across the country. That's Miss V as the founder of the UAE Careers Community. Now, I hope you have been able to hear the common theme. And in case you haven't, let's go to MV. So MV, this is Miss V, the person, empowering the youth and creating opportunities that help young people achieve their best life experiences. And that's Miss V as a thought leader. So what you want to remember when you're looking at this is every time an opportunity comes my way where I can be empowering the youth, I'm in on it. I am so in on it. However, if somebody were to come to me and say, hey, Miss V, what do you think? Why don't you lead this project? And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be making sure that teenagers fall into status quo and can't do what, they can't be rebellious. I wouldn't want to be part of that because it's not aligned with what my vision is. When people think of me in the past tense, I want them to say, that was a woman that spent her life empowering young people. She gave them opportunities, experiences, and moments in their life where they could be authentic and they could live according to their values along a focused path. That's how I want to be remembered. And every opportunity that I say yes to has got to be aligned with my vision of my identity. So if we go back to my first messages right at the beginning, what I said was, why are you the brand? Because what you bring is the extra mile. So don't be afraid of competition. Don't be afraid of other people doing something that is similar to what you do, because the extra mile is what you bring to it. And that is what I believe is the most important. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and then we can start asking questions. And that brings us to the end of an absolutely exciting talk. We were talking about personal branding and I was using examples from Desk Careers and the work that I do outside of Desk Careers. The aim is for you to remember that you get to choose what your brand is going to be. You get to decide, but stay accountable, because whatever you choose to do, just be you and be accountable. Enjoy it, have fun. It's a journey, and it's a journey that keeps evolving and creating. Brings us to the end of our first branding workshop for Project 13.5 here at Dubai English Speaking College. We'll see you all next week when we bring another incredible guest to Mrs. Ridlin's personal branding webinars. Have a great day, everybody.